Jed Davis, representative of the 75th. The governor insists he's presenting a balanced budget. I'm only here in my second term, and the one thing I have learned very quickly is the term balanced is very fluid, along with many things in Springfield. We have not had a truly balanced budget for a long time in Illinois. The fact of the matter is that even with the revisions to the fiscal year 2026 revenue projections, we still have a budget deficit. It is a fact that spending has increased every year J.B. Pritzker has been in office, and yet population continually declines, as long as you don't count the illegal immigrants. It is also a fact that the administration has continued to create new programs knowing full well that there was an expiration date to the ARPA funds propping up the state government. The governor wants to talk about business in Illinois as if we are the destination state, and yet year after year we see major companies who have a long history in Illinois packing up and leaving due to high costs. It is worth noting that many of these businesses Pritzker mentioned today are Chinese communist-owned EV battery makers and electric vehicle companies that are posting losses per unit by the thousands, even despite having millions of dollars of subsidies poured into them. The financial problems we are facing were not created in a vacuum. All of us standing here today sounded the alarm last year about where we were headed. We warned about the reckless spending and how it would end with budget deficits and create long-term financial problems for our state. Of course, those warnings were ignored. Today, we didn't hear a single thing about long-term solutions, only Band-Aid fixes. So let's talk about where we all know this budget process is headed, because year after year, it seems to be the same story. The governor comes here and gives his speech with rosy projections, and then the real budget process begins. It is a process that happens behind closed doors and with only a select few people allowed to attend those meetings. It's not only Republicans who are shut out, but a lot of rank and file Democrats as well. After this week, the appropriations committees will meet week after week, spending hours listening to testimony on line item requests, asking questions to department heads and making suggestions that will ultimately never end up in the budget. Then we will make all the way to Memorial Day. We'll make our way there, and we'll finally get to see a 3,000 plus page budget that looks very different from what the governor talked about today. And typically those differences aren't improvements, just different spending or even more spending. We will be asked to vote on something that we've barely seen with omnibus spending, and then of course chastised for not voting in favor of it by the speaker. This is a horrendous process. We all know it. And if I may, let's briefly think back to last year. We had a deficit last year, about $800 million. Remember how over a dozen of the Democrats didn't even vote for the budget because it was so bad. They didn't want to be on the hook for all the tax and fee increases for ridiculous spending last year, as it then impacts your cost of living. And it should be different this year. But last year, they literally had to suspend the House rules to vote on it for a third time to get it across the finish line. It is time we put the needs of all Illinois residents first. If the Department of Government Efficiency can identify $55 billion in waste in DC in just a few weeks, I think we can identify enough fraud and waste to do a better job managing taxpayer money here in Illinois and shrink this budget hole. As a matter of fact, we here at the Illinois Freedom Caucus believe that in a matter of days, we could trim $3 to $4 billion off the budget. Illegal immigrant spending, government waste, woke green energy programs, and overpaid politicians. That is just the start. Why are Democrats so against any kind of oversight of government? We see this at the national level with all the derangement about DOGE, and we see it here in Illinois. For years, Republicans have proposed ideas like forensic audits to get a better handle on state spending. We would love to see an Illinois version of DOGE here. There's no denying that we need it. Any state government that can unashamedly vote for tax increases with suspended rules at 4 a.m. is in need of a little oversight. I wouldn't trust these people to run the neighborhood ice cream truck, let alone our government. The people the Democrats are hurting the most are the very ones they claim to care about. If we went through the Illinois budget the way DOGE is combing through the federal budget, Think of all the kinds of low-income homes that would benefit from increased funding in healthcare, school choice, and other state services. The reason the Democrats refuse to support accountability measures is because they want to continue to use the government funds for the cause nearest and dearest to their hearts, their own reelection. If we all work together towards common sense solutions, I believe we can win for the people we are elected to serve. My message to the majority party is this: we are willing to pull up a chair to the table to work together.